the 18 Strong Podcast, episode number 345 with Gabe Caldwell from Chicago Made Training. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast, where we know the stronger we are, the better we play. This week, I'm joined by my buddy Gabe Caldwell, a golf fitness professional out of Chicago. He is the owner of Chicago Made Training, and if you haven't checked out his Instagram page, Gabe puts out some of the best content out there when it comes to golf and fitness and mobility drills. We've been highlighting a lot of different golf fitness professionals on our 18 Strong page, and you'll see Gabe on there quite a bit because he puts out such great content. So in this episode, we get to talk to Gabe about a little bit of everything. First of all, we open up talking a little bit about his own game and how he uses his own training principles to help foster and facilitate improvements in his own game. And then we get into several different topics when it comes to training for golf. That being endurance for golfers. What's the right way to do it? What are some of the least effective ways of doing it? And what are some of the most effective ways of doing it? And we talk a little bit about a new concept, at least in the golf and fitness world, of HICT, which Gabe is going to explain and dig a little deeper into that and why it's important that golfers do build some endurance into their training program. We discuss mobility, we discuss speed and power and some of the different tools and techniques of working on that for your own personal game, as well as if you have some limitations in your body and how all of that plays out and how you take what you're doing in the fitness world, in the gym, and how do you utilize that to then better your golf swing and the way that you play ultimately on your next round of golf. Now, before we jump into this episode, I do want to say thanks to our partners over at Linksole. You can check out Linksole. Go to 18strong.com/Linksole to get your 20% off discount code. You're always going to see us in our Linksole gear. You see I've got it on right now for those of you watching on YouTube. I love the lightweight hoodies. I've got the Boardwalker pants on right now, getting ready to play a round of golf this afternoon. Whatever the occasion, your Linksole gear will take care of you. If you're on the golf course, off the golf course, Linksole always looks great. Very casual and very comfortable to play your next round of golf. So go to 18strong.com/Linksole for your 20% off discount code. All right, let's get into our episode with Gabe Caldwell. Gabe Caldwell, welcome back to the 18 Strong Podcast after a couple technical difficulties here.
Yeah, we're having a couple of them, but no big deal. Third time is a charm, better each time. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to being here.
So what's your game looking like these days? You're up in Chicago, which isn't the easiest place to practice over the wintertime. What are you doing in the off season, and how's it shaping up?
Yeah, so I just played my first round a couple weeks ago when I got to the golf course, 35 degrees, but it actually ended up being like 50, so it didn't turn out too bad. Played well, putted well. Drivers a little bit suspect or a lot suspect, but yeah, so I belong to Cagorno Golf, so I have an online coach there, and that gives me swing feedback. So, before that, I really hadn't taken any lessons or actually even seen my swing on video prior to it, not in high school, anything like that. So it was a little bit eye-opening to see it in video and to also see it in slow motion. So for like 4 years, I was trying to get the club face closed. I mean, I just could not do it. He's like, dude, just close it. And I just couldn't do it. This year, I'm off to a pretty good start. Backswing looks pretty good. So now I'm kind of focusing on more of the downswing pieces. So I kind of have that early extension, stand up at impact. And I have this ugly kind of flip. It's better. But I'm still kind of working on basically getting my hands a little bit out in front at impact.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir here. I've had my struggles with the driver as well. I'm curious. So obviously, you're very proficient in the gym. You're very proficient with your workouts, and I think most people, when they hear that you're a golf fitness professional, like they do me, they kind of assume that we've got it all figured out, and just being fit and knowing the right exercises just kind of automatically makes you play well. How do you address, from a physical standpoint, but then also, what you're working on, what does your practice look like, and how does your training kind of coincide, your physical training coincide with maybe what you're trying to do practice-wise?
Yeah. So, when I get into, so there's just like an inside facility that I go to. And, when I start warming up, I'll just kind of warm up with wedges. And after I do a little bit of that, that's when I'll kind of start recording my swing. So I kind of do like a practice swing, and then whatever feel that I want to do, then it'll be recording. And so I'll look at that, maybe do like 2 or 3 swings, go back to the phone, look and see whatever it is that I'm doing. Am I actually doing it? And so I kind of go back and forth there, and kind of screw around with different feels, different drills to try to get me to get into the spot where my coach wants me to get into. So, I mean, it's definitely a process. And just through knowing my own mobility, I definitely have like limitations in like my left side internal rotation. That makes it kind of hard for me to kind of stay in posture. And that's when I'll kind of get a little bit of that early extension. So within my training programs, and just with my training, I mean, I'm doing deadlifts, I'm doing squats and pushes and pulls. But I'm kind of, at least on the front part of the workout, I'm doing a little bit more focusing on the mobility of my hips specifically. And then throughout the workout, I'm also kind of focusing on doing a little bit of things that are going to help with hip internal rotation. So making that swing change is going to be a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's kind of a topic that is overlooked sometimes when you're talking about fitness and the golf swing and how the two intertwine. I'm curious. This is something I was going to talk to you about a little later in the show, but since we're kind of diving in, it's almost fun to hear how you do it on yourself too. I think the listeners, they're always seeing us as the professionals, but I mean, we're golfers too, so we're going through all the same things that they're going through, right?
Right.
So when you are kind of programming your own workout sessions, I'd like to hear that, so you do the mobility stuff first. How do you then, bridge some of those feels that you're trying to get? And how do you program it in when you're trying to get, knowing that you're trying to get some strength training in? And basically, kind of how do you structure a session for yourself, and where do you put some of those pieces? There's all these different pieces that everybody's trying to get in their golf fitness program: speed, power, mobility.
Right.
How do you kind of go about just broad view structuring that stuff for yourself and for your clients?
Yeah, so I kind of look at a lot of the golf, I guess you would say like golf specific stuff, is a lot of like my filler work. So if I do my warm up and then I start with my power work, I'll do maybe like jump squat. And then from there I might do a core exercise. And then from there, if it's like, okay, if I want to try to get internal rotation, I want to do a drill that I know that I've tried myself through trial and error actually does get me internal rotation. And if after doing that drill, then I might pair some sort of swing feel. So maybe it's just as simple as just doing like a hip dissociation drill, or maybe it's as simple as kind of doing like a wall drill where I'm kind of, feeling the wall with my right butt cheek and then kind of paying the wall with the right butt cheek. So I am somewhat can mimic a little bit of the swing, but it's kind of just, I guess, work on the part of the body that's going to help me be able to get in a better position to make a little bit of that swing change, at least in the beginning. And then, throughout the workout, I'm just doing other things to help with maintaining and keeping, whether it's mobility or, a little bit. I don't want to do too much like golfy things in the weight room, but at the same time, it's like, when you're trying to make a swing change, like frequency matters. So if that does mean that I can do some things into the gym that do look like I am swinging a golf club, like I'm not gonna not with a cable or anything like that, but I think that does help. And even if it is like me looking in the mirror and seeing if I'm getting in the right positions and then doing it without a club, like it's definitely not going to hurt, and it can only help.
The common thought is, initially golf fitness was kind of everything had to look like a golf swing, right? And then I think
Right.
you and I are both
Right.
very big proponents of, well, you have to get in and do the bigger things too. You have to do the main exercises that matter: the pushes, the pulls, the squats, the hinges. Watching all the Instagram content that you put out, you're really good about talking about some of the bigger things too that maybe a lot of golfers would tend to shy away from, as far as lifting heavier weights. But so you're kind of mixing some of those different mobility drills, even kind of positioning drills, almost in some of your rest breaks and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like kind of, or like maybe it's my strength stuff where, I have my deadlift, and then after that I may have a press. And then after that, I might have some sort of mobility drill. So, I think sometimes whenever we're programming mobility drills, we're always wanting to do them on the front end, kind of when we're fresh. But at the same time, like I want to be able to acquire or access that mobility when I'm a little bit tired, as well. So you're getting a little bit better, just better movement under stress, as opposed to just being fresh, because you're gonna want that as you're playing golf.
And I would imagine just time management wise, just maximizing your
absolutely.
time in the gym. So we're kind of at the tail end of the off season for most folks. It's starting to warm up a little bit. We've here in St. Louis, we're not far from your weather type, where it's kind of up and down a little bit now. We get our cold days and our warm days.
Right.
What would, first of all, off-season wise, what does kind of the optimal off-season look like for you? Not necessarily for you, but for your clients. Let's say not anybody that's, tour level, high level collegiate, but let's talk regular golfers here. The golfers that are waiting for it to warm up to get out to their club or get out to their muni or whatever. What would an optimal off-season look like for you? How long should it be? And, what are kind of the things that they're doing on a pretty regular basis weekly?
Yeah, so I think that it's pretty important to find the low-hanging fruit of a golfer. So, when somebody comes in and sees me, we go over like the 4 rotational centers. So for your shoulder, for your T-spine, for your hips and neck. So not only are we able to see what is going to help you, improve club head speed, but at the same time is what is going to help you stay on the golf course. Because if you can't rotate, you're not going to be able to create club head speed, but it also gives us a baseline. So if I know exactly where my mobility is and during the off season, and then as I continue with the off season and then get into the season, like your mobility is going to change a little bit. So whether, you start practicing a lot, or whether you go on vacation, you're sitting a lot, you're not doing your mobility stuff. So like, if you go out and you come back and your mobility is a little different, we just know that we want to do a little bit of work to kind of get back to where exactly you were. So that's from the mobility standpoint. From a strength standpoint, like you said, it's just keeping it simple. I don't want to like make it super over complicated. So so just think of it as like if you had a tee, and in this tee you have, in one bucket you have like your squats, your split squats, your rear foot elevated split squats, lunges, and then you have one bucket that is your RDLs, your deadlifts, your hip bridges, and then the other 2 you have pushes and your pulls. So I kind of want a balanced ratio of all of those things for my off-season programming. And so while I'm choosing exercises, except for somebody, at home, it's really important to obviously have the skill and also have the ability to get into some of these positions that we're wanting to get in while we're getting stronger. So, everybody, deadlift is great for increasing club head speed, but if you can't even get close to touching your toes, like the chances of you being able to do that correctly are going to be very, very, very high. So it's kind of choosing the right things for that person and keeping it simple. And as you go on, as you get a little bit closer to your in season, so you might go to more volume in the off season, so more sets and reps. And then as you kind of get closer to your in season, you might go less sets and reps, and increase a little bit of the intensity. So I just kind of go more volume before we go more intensity.
We use the term mobility a lot, and I think a lot of people use mobility, flexibility kind of interchangeably. What's the term mobility used to you? What does it mean to you? How would you define it?
I guess it's your ability to acquire a position on your own. Like you actively being able to acquire a position, because if you're like flexibility is different because, if I was stretching somebody out and I can maybe take their leg or their hamstring to like 90 degrees, but if I ask them to do it, they might get to like 45 degrees. So yeah, they have good flexibility, but in the sense of them being able to acquire it on their own, they might not have all the mobility.
So what are your thoughts or techniques on, if you are trying to find some more usable range? That's exactly the way that I would describe it too. It's kind of the way that the motion that we can actively do and use ourselves without any external forces. Let's say somebody has a tight ankle, tight hip. Are there any specific techniques that you use aside from just kind of your old standard stretching, right, that are going to help facilitate that a little bit more? Or maybe a better way to ask this is, what do you see people doing that is kind of not really beneficially helping their mobility versus what's a more effective way of actually achieving that new range?
So when trying to get mobility, I think environment is key. So like a lot of times you'll see like on Instagram, there'll be those mobility drills, and like maybe 5 or 10% of the people in the world are going to be able to get into these positions, because they're just super bendy people, and the people like that are, sitting for 8 or 10 hours, like they're just not going to be able to get in that position, and they're not going to be able to, even get close to what they're wanting to get out of it. So, and a lot of times I think that some of those mobility drills are actually probably making you worse as opposed to making you better. So like if somebody, let's just say for instance, like somebody has like a tight T-spine and they can't rotate. So what I kind of see a lot of is that, like somebody is kind of going against gravity in order to get T-spine rotation as opposed to going with gravity. So let's just say like you have that, like an open book, or just something where, my legs, my hip, knee, and ankle are at like 90 degrees. I'm lying on my side and I'm just, opening up my chest to try to get that upper body rotation. So that to me is going to be way more helpful than doing something that is going to be you doing the opposite of like the quadruped drill with T-spine, where you're trying to rotate your elbow up towards the
like the reach backs.
Yeah. So I mean, you can maybe do the one that's using the gravity first, and then I would do the opposite one to then lock it in. So I would say that that's definitely one of the things that I see that's could be done better. So
basically using gravity to kind of help assist. So the force of gravity is going to help you further that rotation. Another thing that can be very beneficial is even using a band, like to assist the motion.
Absolutely.
But while you're actively kind of doing that motion, and then going against gravity in the next drill to then kind of facilitate or really, like you said, lock it in and grain it a little bit more and get that activation. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and just doing you just do like a test retest. I mean, that's probably like one of the most beneficial things that anybody can do. Like if you're testing your T-spine rotations, whether you're doing like the TPI screen, however they do it, or just, sitting in a chair and then just looking, right and then looking left, like do the drill and then test it and see if it gets better. Because if it doesn't get better, then you're just doing nothing. So, but yeah, like doing test, retest. So at least the mobility drills or thing that you're trying to acquire is actually happening.
You mentioned earlier about the frequency and how important that is. And I think with that test, retest, it's important for people to know that when you do that retest and you see yourself get better, that that's happening in that moment. Now, when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's not necessarily going to be there. And so don't be disappointed when you then retest and you're like, oh, crap, it went away. Like, that's where it's important, like you said, the consistency of doing this stuff over time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think definitely when it comes to mobility, it's not about duration of how long you're doing it. It's going to come down to more frequency. I'd rather have somebody do 5 or 10 minutes of mobility work every day as opposed to doing, an hour twice a week. Because the more input you're giving into the brain that this is what you're wanting to change, the more it's going to say, oh, I need to keep this because I'm giving input that tells my brain that I want to keep it.
So along those lines of facilitating, so I would imagine when you're working with clients, you see a lot of physical limitations that are then correlated to maybe some sort of swing issue that they're having,
Yeah.
And maybe you can tell us what some of those bigger limitations are or more common ones that you see and what swing issues you kind of have dealt with quite a bit. But what I'm curious about is once you identify that, and now you've got them in the gym to work on it, what's kind of the process of, okay, we've identified it, we know we need to kind of target that, and then how do you go about working with them to then get that into their swing once you've started to work on fixing that limitation?
Yeah. So like, for example, like a big one is hip internal rotation. Not only is like, are you just not going to be able to rotate, but probably that's a big cost for standing up in posture. If you're standing up in posture or loss of extension, early extension, you're just going to not create as much club head speed. So a big contributor to that, from a tissue standpoint is basically like glute med, deep hip rotators or TFL. So to somebody, when you say that, they're like, I don't know what those are or whatever. So I just say like, it's your front pocket, it's your back pocket, and then like your waistband and kind of off to the side. So, what we would just want to try to do is, okay, we'll use the lacrosse ball. I like a baseball a little bit better because I feel like it just, fits around the bones a little bit better. And then just rolling out those areas and releasing those areas. And then from there, using, maybe it's some mobility drills after you get a little bit of release to then tell the brain, that you want to keep it. And then from there, telling them, okay, after this, I want you to, at the very least, do these things. You might tell them to do it every day. But, if they're doing it 3 or 4 times, I would think that that's a pretty big win.
Yeah, usually you have to tell them to do it every day in order for them to do it a couple of times a week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so once they kind of start working on that, they get a little bit more of this mobility. And then obviously I would imagine, there's probably some strengthening type stuff that you would implement in there. I think that the big question for all of us, and I'm not saying that I have the exact answer or you do, but I think everybody's probably wondering like, okay, now I've got this thing. I know how to loosen up my hip. I know how do I then take that out to the golf course? What has been your experience there? And is that a job for the fitness pro to help with, or does that then kind of fall more in line with, hey, you need to go out and get your reps in. You need to, find your pro to work on that, or what have you found?
You need to practice. I mean, as listen, like I have relatively good mobility. I have relatively good strength, but for me, my low hanging fruit is the skill of golf. So like the strength stuff, the mobility stuff, at the very least is going to give me a better chance to get into positions that my golf pro is going to want to get me in. So like all the mobility stuff and all the strength stuff, it doesn't matter if you don't practice, and you're not going to get better at golf. Like my game gets better, not because I get stronger. If I get more mobile, it's like when I'm just practicing more, and whether that's, putting or hitting golf balls or whatever that is. So in my head, my low hanging fruit is I need to practice. And if I don't practice, and if I'm shooting crappy on the golf course, if I'm like, my swing doesn't look like it, like I want it to look, that's the skill of golf. Like I need to get better at the skill of golf. So that would be my answer to that.
I love that. That's the perfect answer. I like to think that many times the battle here is just making your body either an asset or a liability. You know, a lot of people are, there's a liability to our body that's causing a detriment to our swing. So if we can make our body move well, like you said, be strong, all of those things, it's not that it's going to necessarily make you a great golfer, but it's allowing you more ability to do better things on the golf course. It's kind of, so the asset versus liability was something I heard from somebody. I'm like, that's exactly what we're trying to do most of the time, is just not make our body move shittily so we can swing a club better, right?
Right. I just want to play for a long time and not have back pain when I wake up. I know what, like, you know, that's another thing that I just noticed when I start practicing more. My back just feels stiffer. And, you know, I think looking back on just program, I kind of wish I did more like med ball stuff beforehand. So I felt like I could, I don't know, I get better prepared my body to start swinging the club. But yeah, I mean, it comes down to practice. I mean, it's a team thing. Like, you know, it's all parts are helping out each other.
Hey guys, I want to jump in real quick to say thanks to our partners over at Live Pure. Live Pure is our favorite and number one hydration product to use on the course, off the course, in the gym. They've got the Focus, the hydration, and the energy packs, which I've been using a lot in my workouts. These were formulated alongside Dr. Troy Van Beesen, who is the chiropractor to some of the top level PGA Tour players in the world. And it's exactly what you need when you're on the golf course, when it's hot out, even when it's not hot out. We struggle with keeping ourselves hydrated to help us stay focused on the golf course. So if you're looking for a great product that we know, we trust, go to livepure.com, use the code 18strong. You're going to get a discount on your purchase over there. Again, that's livepure.com, and use Live Pure to champion your day. Let's dive a little bit into your wheelhouse, which is, you know, now making the body move well, making the body strong, making it powerful. Obviously, club head speed, building strength, speed, power, all of that is, you know, kind of at the forefront of everybody's thoughts. And I've seen you talk about this on some of the content that you put out about, you know, developing power, developing speed, developing athleticism. What are some of the things that we need to think about when we're talking about those things, power and speed specifically? And maybe what are some of the things that people are not doing or are doing wrong that you've seen? I've seen you make a couple of posts about this when they are trying to get faster and more explosive.
Okay, so there's tons of things that are going to help with, you know, power and speed. Okay, so you could look at jump squat, you could look at kettlebell swing, you could look at single leg hops, you could look at lateral hops, you can look at rotational stuff, all that stuff. But it's like you have to have, you know, for the goal is, I want to move faster. And so I have to sit and think like, okay, like what is my intent for all these exercises? Well, my intent is to move kind of violently, but under control when I'm doing my power exercises. So I feel like a big mistake people sometimes either make is that they either do way too many reps or they're doing the wrong exercise. So let's just say like, yeah, kettlebell swing is a great exercise for developing power. But some people, the intent isn't there. So they're not, they either don't have the skill to do it, to have the intent to move that bell very fast and very quickly, and powerfully. So I think it comes down to kind of putting yourself in the right position to be able to move the body fast, whenever it is coming to creating power.
What about using weight when you're working on these things? You know, medicine balls. What's the best way to utilize resistance if you're building those? You know, if you're still working on building speed and power.
Are you talking about like using weight as in like with like doing a lighter deadlift or doing?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the direction. Just like kind of the direction I was going is, you know, I've heard you talk about, you know, not using heavy med balls. You did a great post on like medicine ball throws, and you know, you see somebody grab a 20-pound medicine ball, and they tell you they're working on speed, they're working on power, and you have a good take on that.
Yeah. So like if like another big mistake I see is like, and at a lot of gyms they have 14-pound balls, 16-pound balls, 20-pound balls. And I just think I'm not gonna say they're a complete waste, but like if I want to improve speed, like I want to tell the brain that I want to move fast. So if you're throwing something that's very heavy, you're telling the brain to move slow. I'm not saying like they're completely worthless, but it's similar to like the speed sticks. Like the speed sticks work because you're swinging it really fast. So you're telling your brain, I want to move this fast whenever I'm out on the course. So if I'm doing a med ball throw, whether it be a side toss or shot put throw or slam, I want to throw the thing really, really effing hard to create power. And once again, kind of tell my brain that this is how I want to move whenever I'm doing something that may look similar to this outside of the gym.
Do you use the super speed clubs or the stack system or any of those?
I did. I used it last year, and I will say like it definitely works. I saw my swing speed go up. I think like I was probably around I don't know, like it's not great. So it's like 105, and I think it bumped up to, it maybe got up to like 110, maybe 115 or something like that. But then like I think I was swinging on the opposite side, and I started just getting like elbow pain or like golfer's elbow, but because I was swinging, you're swinging with both sides using the super speed sticks. But I would say if I did it again, in which I'm going to do it again, I would probably just swing on my dominant side and not do the opposite side. So I just think like swinging from the left side is like, and then swinging very fast. I wouldn't be super surprised at people that would get hurt doing that. Not to say like you can't, but like that was just from my experience doing it.
Yeah, I've kind of fallen into that same camp too. Backing off the opposite-handed swings, and I still like to do them. I like to just move both ways and kind of feel that the athleticism of doing that, and pretending that I have to every now and then flip my club over and hit a left-handed shot. But I think you're right. Like, just the risk of swinging as fast as I can, or having somebody else, even worse, having a client swing as fast as they can, left-handed or off-sided. I just think that the risk doesn't necessarily, or the reward doesn't necessarily outweigh the risk there.
Yeah. So little story. So in like college, I was a baseball pitcher, and I had shoulder surgery. Like I had a partially torn labrum. So I couldn't use my right arm for a while, so I just like started throwing with my left arm, and I got like decent at throwing left-handed. But to this day, like my left shoulder hurts because I feel like you don't have like baseball pitchers can throw hard because they have thrown for a long time to give them that layback in order to. So whenever you're doing that on the opposite side, which doesn't have that, and you add speed onto it, like you're just kind of sometimes asking for trouble. So it still gives me trouble, but. The right one's good, but the left one not so much.
Speaking of injuries, obviously these guys play so much these days. The pros do, and back pain's a huge thing. But all these other overuse injuries have come about. As far as from the strength training side, where do you see? And let's talk kind of pro level. Do you see some of the pros overdoing it these days, strength wise? Do you see any of them, in your opinion, lifting too heavy? What are your thoughts in regards to how much a person should be lifting, and is there a limit that we reach where as a golfer maybe they shouldn't go past that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is like somewhat of a I think if you get to a certain point of strength, that I don't think the benefits are super great if you continue to. I'm not saying that you don't want to maintain the strength that you have, but if you're deadlifting, like, let's say like 1.5 times your body weight for like 5, like to me, that's probably that's pretty good, for most golfers. So yeah, I think I like all the stuff that like Rory does. Like definitely just doing a kind of what seemed like a little bit of a basic strength program. Seeing John Rahm train is awesome to see. And there's just other people that, like Justin Thomas, that don't look super strong but still have a pretty awesome swing speed, that maybe have that little springy, elastic body that enables them to, swing the club fast. But then I see him training at, Joey D's or whatever like that. So, I think that I would like to probably see, more people probably training like Rory, as opposed to, maybe just doing a lot of like rotational stuff, bendy stuff, mobility stuff. So there's probably like somewhere in between that is like the sweet spot of, I don't want them to be like a power lifter and just do bench, squat, and deadlift, because these people have to move, they have to rotate. So I think it's like somewhere between all the golfy stuff and somewhere between, treating people like a power lifter, is kind of like that sweet spot.
Yeah, the answer's always pretty much always in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you could train somewhere between like JT and like Rory, you'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah.
I imagine.
What about, you had a great post about endurance for golfers and training a little bit differently regarding endurance. Because what comes to mind when I hear endurance is, long runs, kind of the old school way of, I remember talking to a buddy of mine, you probably can relate to this. He played collegiate golf, and, endurance training for those guys was, hey, pitchers, you guys go run 5 miles. And it's like, why does a pitcher need to run 5 miles, So endurance wise, where do you think that plays in for a golfer? And what are maybe some different ways, aside from just getting on the treadmill or just getting on a bike, getting on the Peloton and going and riding for 45 minutes?
Yeah. So, your aerobic system is the protector of stress. So it's what is going to help with managing stress. So if you are, if you want to recover quicker during or after rounds, if you're wanting to feel like you don't run out of gas late in rounds, if you want to be able to recover between sets, you're going to want to need like some sort of aerobic base. That in the sense that if you have a better aerobic system, you're probably going to live longer, which, if we want to play golf for a long time, we probably should have somewhat of decent endurance. So, so the way I kind of do endurance is, and there's a couple different ways, but I just try to think of, okay, what is something that somebody may do for maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes, that's going to get their heart rate up. So so that could be, like you said, that could be a bike, it could be jump rope, it could be a sled, it could be, whatever it is that's going to get their heart rate up somewhat. So then from there, I like doing some maybe a body weight exercise after that. That's after they're a little bit fatigued. I still want you to move well while under a little bit of fatigue. And then after that, I may have them do something mobility wise that's going to help contribute to their game. So I might have a 10-minute block of 3 different exercises. So let's say it's jump rope, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 3. After that, reverse lunge for 8. Then after that, we do something with T-spine, to help out with the golf game. So I might have 3 of those ish circuits that are getting the heart rate up, focusing on something that they probably need to help their game, and doing an exercise between that I want them to do, while they're under a little bit of fatigue. And there's also what I've just started using, in the past year, is a thing called high intensity continuous training. So it's a way that you can get strength and you can get endurance, or improve aerobic capacity, at the same time. So what you want to do is you want to choose exercises that have very low, eccentric or more concentric. So if you were to say a squat, if you were to go down, that's eccentric. So we want to pick things like step ups, let's say deadlifts. We can pick med ball slams. We can pick, rows. We can pick push-ups, TRX rows. So, but I'm going to do those for maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 reps, but it's going to be at kind of a heavy weight, but it's going to be a weight that I'm going to be able to repeat. So let's say I did deadlift for 2, and then after I did deadlift for 2, I might wait 10 seconds, and then I might go to a med ball side toss for 1 on each side. But it's like full on. I'm trying to throw it as hard as I can. So what this is doing is it's improving the endurance of my fast twitch muscle fibers that are going to help me with strength. But I'm doing it with a heart rate that is somewhere between 120 and 150. That's going to help out with endurance. So what I just noticed in doing it is, especially when I do deadlift with it, and my deadlift got better because I was doing it so frequently. My form was getting better. I was more locked in. I was more, I feel like, focused. And so that helps with whenever you're starting to, increase your weight, because you've done that skill of deadlifting so often that whenever you start doing a heavier weight, like, you just feel a lot better because you've been doing it, like we said, like you're just doing it more frequently. So, but yeah, those are a couple different ways to get endurance and one way to get kind of strength and endurance.
I really like that. So are you doing that kind of like you mentioned the earlier one, where it's a little bit circuit style and then just setting up for like 10 minutes and you do so many rounds of it? And how many times a week were you doing, because it sounded like you said you were doing the deadlift pretty frequently.
Yes.
Are you doing that multiple times a week, or do you mix up what is in that little circuit?
Yeah. So I might do, like, during the off season, I was doing like 2 days of conditioning. I'll do 2 days of strength. And then my high intensity continuous training was done on a Friday. So it's kind of like your high volume day. So we put it on Friday, so then you have the weekend to be able to recover from it. So from an endurance standpoint, I put those between my strength days, and which is another like great reason why to do a little bit of endurance work is that, and you could say it endurance work, you could think of it as like a rebound workout that's going to help you feel better for the next day. So whether that next day is you're doing a strength workout, you're going to feel better, or the next day you have practice, your body's going to feel better. And that's going to help with improving performance.
How long were these sessions typically?
So when started out, so I might do 3 different circuits starting at like 8 minutes. And then the next week might go up to 10, 12 weeks the next week. And then I drop down, to 8. So I might do like a heavy step up mixed with push-ups. Then I might do like a goblet squat, with the med ball throw. And then if you have a sled, I do like sled. So I just, do left, right. After that, then I might do med ball slams, right afterwards. And I just like it. It's just good because you're just focusing on whatever it is that you're focusing on. Like you just wait that 10 seconds, then you go do your exercise, wait 10 seconds, go. But yeah, so it helps you kind of compartmentalize and just focusing on the thing that you're doing, as opposed to, thinking too far ahead.
So just to clarify for people listening, so each of those would have been like your 8-minute or 10-minute circuit.
Yeah.
You would do the first 2 exercises as your first circuit,
Mm-hmm.
the next 2 exercises as your second, and you would do 3 of those circuits, and then you kind of increase the time every week. Awesome. I really like that.
Yes.
My clients are probably going to hate it when I start to bring this in a little bit more to them, but I can see, definite benefits for them, especially just mixing it up, right? Like completely changing up what they've been doing gives you a way to bring in some new and even fun type exercises too, with some real intention.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got that from their guys at Beyond Strength, Chris Merritt and Todd Baumgartner, and they got it from it's called like there's an awesome book I actually got. It's called Building the Elite, which they have a bunch of nice like strength training methods and endurance methods that I really like, that have a nice carryover for I think they have a nice carryover to golf and just overall strength training and wellness.
Cool. What was that again? Building the Elite?
Building the Elite. Yeah, it's a straight book. And you don't have to read it cover to cover. You just find your section, read that, then you can implement it right away.
Cool. All right, Gabe. So we've talked a lot about just throughout the podcast, strength, speed, which really plays into like the athleticism. And I think that all of these guys now on tour, we're starting to see that they're a lot more athletic. I'm curious, who are the guys that you like to watch most? What are some of the most athletic swings that you like? And maybe even a better question, if you could pick one guy's swing out there, whose swing would you pick?
Well, I mean, I think everybody would pick, not everybody, but like Rory's swing is pretty freaking sweet. But I like Brooks's swing. I'm a big Brooks guy, so he's doing pretty well in the Masters right now. So I'm pretty happy about seeing that. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely probably go with Rory. Yeah,
it's
for sure.
There's so many of them now. It's hard to pick just one. I mean, did you see the PGA Tour put out a post on Scotty Scheffler, and they have the little foot tracer thing on his heel? If you guys haven't seen this, go to Instagram and go to PGA Tour, and you'll see Scotty Scheffler. But it's amazing. That guy's like falling over half the time when he swings, and then you just see this laser come straight out. It's like you would never pick his swing as like, the prettiest, but like, God, it's so freaking good.
And I wonder it'd be like to see how many pros try to fix that. Like just from like, oh, that looks wrong. Like we have to change that. Like because I don't think anybody else's foot does that. So it would just be interesting to see like throughout his time, like at what point in time were people like, just don't screw with it. He's actually really good.
Yeah, he's winning. I think what'd they say? It was like he won like 90% of the junior events that he was in, or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
But when you watch that, and it's not even his right foot that's sliding all over the place, but if you watch his left foot, there are swings where it looks like he rolls his ankle as he's coming into the downswing into impact. It's like, oh my gosh, I just don't know how. I don't know how you can maintain that accuracy, precision, and be moving so much. It's like he's got to be so pinpoint specific as like maximizing the efficiency of his pressure shift and everything. It's unbelievable.
I mean, my foot does that a little bit, but the result is not the same. I mean, the result is like a snap hook, 50 yards to the left.
Right. All right, my friend, let's finish up with our questions that we love to ask everybody here. First one, it's coming. Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore?
Oh, Caddyshack. Yeah. I just feel like if I had to keep watching one movie over and over and over, I would get way more tired of Adam Sandler before I'd get tired of like Chevy Chase or Rodney Dangerfield.
I could not agree more.
Okay.
My son just watched Caddyshack for the first time. It was like such a proud father moment, like might still be a little inappropriate for him, but it was,
it's all right.
All right, if you could pick.
Did he like it, or was he kind of like?
No, he loved it. He loved it.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
deal.
My son, it's funny. He's 15 years old now, and I make him watch all these old movies that we love from our day and age, and he's like, man, why is it that older movies are so much better? And I was like, whoa. And I said, well, because I'm
preaching to the choir.
I'm picking some of the best ones for you to watch. But yeah, it was kind of cool to hear. All right, if you could pick a walk-up song to the first tee box, what's the song you're picking?
I'm picking Cult of Personality by Living Colour. I'm a big wrestling fan. That's CM Punk's entrance music. So Cult of Personality, 1,000%.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about your WWE/WWF obsession. We'll have to save that for another day, but rumor has it that the name of your training company is because of your passion for the WWF.
Yes, it like in 2011, it's like that's what it comes from. So CM Punk is Chicago made punk, so Chicago made training, which I think is a pretty awesome name. But then I got in this business people, and they're like, "You got to change your name to Gabe Caldwell Golf," and I was kind of like, "That's kind of like my baby," and I was kind of sad to see it go, but I could always bring it back. It could be Chicago made golf or something like that, but maybe in the future.
There we go. All right, if you could pick a dream foursome, you can play with anyone, past or present, famous, not famous. Who are you picking as your dream foursome to play with and spend, 5 hours of time with?
Yeah, so I gotta pick my boys. Like, so my one buddy Andrew, who's like the player that doesn't practice and then plays bad and gets really upset. And my other buddy, Ryan, who he's kind of like the reason why I got back into golf about like 4 or 5 years ago. Like I played in high school and then moved to Chicago. It's just hard to get out in the suburbs and play. And so I definitely pick him. And then I'd pick my dad as well. So, I think he played a lot before, like there's 4 of us, but I think he played a lot during, pre 4 kids. And then after 4 kids, I don't think he played. I have no idea when the last time or if he even could play golf, but that would be my foursome.
All right. And if we could fuel up the 18 strong Learjet and send you guys anywhere you want to go, bucket list course, you're taking your boys, where are you heading?
We're going to head to St. Andrews in Scotland. So we're going to fuel up the jet. It's a long ride. So there will be beers popped. There will be bourbon drank on that flight. So I'd say St. Andrews. Yeah.
Sounds like my kind of trip. All right.
Yeah.
Is there a book that you've read and has made a big impact on you, or a book that you really like to refer to other people or have even given as gifts to other people?
Yeah. So Atomic Habits by James Clear. So just with making habits, breaking habits, and that, your environment is very much going to dictate a lot of your habits, and good or bad. So that's definitely a book that I've read multiple times. It's an easy book to just do an audio book. So yeah, I'd say Atomic Habits.
Awesome. One of our favorites around here. All right, I got a new question that I'm going to start throwing in. If for anybody that's been following our Instagram account lately has seen that we're really starting to highlight other golf professionals, instructors in the game, because we want to promote golf and fitness as a lifestyle and really kind of become a hub of where people can go for finding great people like yourself. Who is an account on Instagram that you follow that you think other people listen to this show would also benefit from going and checking out? It doesn't have to be a fitness professional, could be anybody.
Okay. I'm going to say my buddy, Matt Atsoff. So I believe he's at Matt Atsoff, ATSOFF. So he was the guy that I talked about, that I think he started playing like 3 years ago. Maybe 3 or 4. And then he's become like a scratch golfer.
Wow.
So, and we both have a pretty, similar thought process on training. He's a hockey guy. He's the guy that has like the swing that looks exactly like a hockey swing. So yeah, I think his story is a good story to see. Like, and he does practice a lot. He plays a lot. He lives in Denver now, not Chicago. But yeah, it's a good, cool story that shows like, if you practice enough, that you can become pretty freaking good at this game of golf.
Awesome, very cool. All right, last question. What's the best piece of golf advice that you've ever been given?
Can I say the F word on it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Close the fucking club face. Close the fucking club face. I'm like, dude, I get it. Dude, you're not getting it. Close it. I'm like, it's just like, I feel like just with cursing, there's sometimes when you do, like, it just counts more. Like you gotta like, and it's just to stick more. So, that definitely is yeah. Cause it was just, he's like, dude, just do it. Like, you're athletic. Just freaking do it. I'm like, all right, well, and it took me 4 years, but it's I'm in a good spot now with my backswing, which I'm happy about.
A perfectly timed F-bomb can be so effective, especially when it's coming from somebody that doesn't use it a lot. I did that with, and this is not great to say on the air, and shines a light on my parental and coaching ways of wisdom. But with my son's soccer team one time, it was like, you guys just got to get the fucking ball, and these little kids' eyes opened up wide. And then second half, it was awesome. They went out and they were like little monsters. And it was like, sometimes perfectly timed. I apologize to the parents. They were all cool with it, but sometimes it just works.
Yeah, they won the game. It's fine. Winning cures everything. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Where's the best place for everybody to go follow you, find your stuff?
Yeah, so on Instagram, at Gabe Caldwell. So CALDWELL. Caldwell.
Awesome. We'll have all that linked up in the show notes. We'll link to Matt's page as well. Make sure he gets a little love there. But hey, man, I just want to say you are killing it on Instagram. I want everybody to go check out Gabe's stuff over there. He's putting out content every single day and some really high quality stuff. I mean, right in line with everything that we talk about here at 18 Strong. Really puts it in an easy way for you to understand. Great demos, so go check that out. So just keep it up, man, and I really, really appreciate you coming on and doing this. People don't know, but this is the second time we tried to do this interview. We had a little technical difficulty last time, so here we go. But thanks again for coming on, and we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
All right, appreciate it, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us this week on the 18 Strong podcast with Gabe Caldwell. If you want any of the information from this episode, just go to 18strong.com. You can find it under episode number 345 with Gabe Caldwell. Don't forget to check out our partners over at Linksole. That's 18strong.com/Linksole to get you 20% off there. And Live Pure Hydration. Go to livepure.com. That's LIVPUR.com and use the code 18strong to get your discount on that. All right, we'll catch up again with you soon. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.